Well, racers and race fans, we're on the road again. This time we are traveling out to Independence, Missouri, and we are going to go to Day Automotive. Of course, that's run by Huey Anthony. They've been in the business for around 30 years, and we're going to go inside today and maybe talk a little bit with Huey about transmissions. So I don't know about you, but I'm always looking forward to learning something and picking up something new. So let's go inside and talk to Huey. Once you get inside, you can see that there is anything here for any kind of engine service that you may need for that hot rod of yours. Also, there's any kind of machine work or anything that you may need for any of the speed equipment that you've got.
Yeah, let me come over that way.
You want to see what kind of horsepower or torque that beast of yours puts out? Well, Huey can do that too here. You can just hook it up to the old dyno and check that baby out and see just exactly what you got under that hood. Every motor's got to breathe right, and you want to find out how yours is breathing. You do that right here on the Superflow machine, as they can check out the heads and see how that air is getting through. Well, I don't know about you, but I want somebody doing my engine work that knows something about speed, horsepower, and torque. And folks, you're not going to find anybody much better than Tony Schaefer, as he's a drag racer himself and holds several records with the NHRA.
Okay. Well, folks, I want to welcome everybody to a Shop Talk, and we are still kind of doing our tech specials. And we are here today at Day Automotive, which is in Independence, Missouri. And I'm here with, as we in the racing business or sport, whatever you want to call it, with Huey Anthony. Mm-hmm. And Huey, could you kind of fill us in just a little bit on how you came to be in the, I guess you would say, speed shop business?
Yeah. Well, it started when I was young. As a matter of fact, I was only 12 years old when I first started around racing in the Kansas City area. My older brother had a jalopy car, I called it back then, flathead Ford. Raced at Olympic Stadium in Riverside, and that sparked the life out of me to get started in the racing business. Been at it ever since. Worked for several different people throughout my life. I worked for Jim Hager for years, and Harold Montevi, who owned salvage businesses, but I was kind of involved in the race cars all the time back then, and then evolved into the engine business and speed shop business, and here I am today.
Here you are today. Now, I understand you did have a couple of other partners to begin with.
Yeah, when we started this place, there was a fellow by the name of John Day, who was a real smart engine man, who's still in business today in Texas, as a matter of fact. And a guy named Gary Potter, who worked at the phone company and didn't want to give up his career there, so he builds street rods today. That's what he does. So, yeah, I'm still here at the Day Automotive selling race car parts and building engines.
Building engines. You know, it's so funny to me how it seems like people in and around racing, they get that little spark that kind of ignites something, and it seems to stay with us for the rest of our lives. And
don't quit. I just turned 65 this year, and I keep asking myself, how long are you going to do this? But I just love racing.
Yeah.
It's always been a part of my life, and I can't do nothing else.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I just had my 69th birthday here a while back, and I'll be honest with you, to hear a small block Chevy revving up on a racetrack, standing in the corner watching them go by, I still get a lump in my throat.
Yeah. Well, we had to buy a dynamometer here so we could start them up right here in the shop and race them. It's the same thing.
Yeah, so, do it here in the shop.
Yeah, we can test the horsepower and everything right here. So.
Yeah. Today we kind of got a special topic. We have been talking about complete race cars with Yancey and seen a motor dyno job done up there. But today we're going to move just a little bit further behind the motor and go into the transmissions. Mm-hmm. And transmission is a multiple geared gear case for transferring the power from the motor to the rear end. Sounds pretty simple.
Yeah.
But in a racing application, man, it is something else. I mean, it's really just like so many other things getting so technical. But we've got the Burt, we've got the Brin, we've got the Falcon, we've got the Saginaw. And of course, I think you want to talk a little bit about the Tonganoxie, and also we've got the Power Glides that most of the guys are using for racing transmissions. Mm-hmm. I presume that the reason for all of these aftermarket transmissions is the fact that really rear-wheel drive cars are just about a thing of the past. I'm sure we are starting to run out of parts that came from those. So I guess what I want to know is, Huey, I've been following the forum boards, and man, there's been a heated discussion going on the forum boards. And why are there so many different types of transmissions, and why is there so much controversy about it?
Well, one thing, I mean, any racer, you give a racer something and he's going to find a way to make it run faster and do a better job. And that's basically what every one of these transmissions have done, including the power glides. And the Tonganoxie, for instance, let's go into that and I'll explain that to you. That Tonganoxie transmission is a relatively inexpensive, less friction producing transmission. So when you put that in high gear or third gear, it turns just the shaft through it and don't rotate the gears in it to make that transmission produce more power at the rear wheels. I've heard figures that people went and dynoed these, don't know that to be true, but you know, you hear some figures, you go, wow, that's pretty impressive for that amount of money to gain the power at the rear wheels relatively cheaper than buying a new carburetor for the motor that's the same thing, that's going to produce more power. So anyway, the durability of this, because it's not turning the gears, the only thing it's doing is got two bearings in there, and the shaft runs through it in high gear turning, and nothing else is turning, so there's nothing to break. So theoretically, it's more durable than any other transmission on the market because of that fact. And the same thing they're doing with the power glides today. You can buy a power glide today that's like an in and out box that actually has a drive in it. They make them with aluminum drums, and for lighter weight to turn less and make more power at the rear wheels. Or they even have them that you can buy them that not too many people know about, that works like an in and out box. You just put it in gear, turns the shaft all the way through it, but it looks like an automatic transmission. So you give it to a racer, he's gonna find a way to cheat it. There ain't no doubt.
I guess that sort of explains why there's so many different versions. I suppose each one probably has its own characteristics. That
has its own little nook.
Yeah, that,
you know, every one of them. We have this other transmission here that we're selling for the modifieds and the late models and stuff like that now. We've went out and produced this transmission in China. This transmission was copied. They copied one of the other type transmissions, has the clutch built in it, and this transmission here is as durable as anybody else's, and the cost of it is half the price of another one. So we're marketing this transmission here for $999.99, and it's as durable as a Burt Brenner Falcon. So we're having great success out of it too.
Since you're talking about money, let me interrupt you a little bit here. Now these are internet prices. I'm sure a speed shop or someone like that may have it a little bit cheaper, but now this is what I found on the internet last night, okay? The Burt, $1,600.
No, I'm going to rephrase that.
Okay.
Because the old style Burt was $1,600. The new one that they're selling, they just come out with a new Burt transmission that has the clutch built on the main drive of it, and it's like $1,900 for that new one. So
I knew it'd be different than what I found.
It's a better transmission, apparently, and they want more money for it, like everything else.
Okay, we'll say Burt, $1,900. The Bren, I come up with $1,700. Power Glide, $1,700 new. And let's see, the Saginaw, which I think probably was a stock transmission because that price is kind of low. It was $500. And let me see, I got a couple more here. Let me turn the page. Oh, the Falcon was $1,300, and the Tonganoxie now is $650. And then the, I'm sorry, I forgot the name.
Race Gator.
The Race Gator.
Yes.
Is $995.
Yeah.
Okay. So that gives you all a little idea of what we're talking about price-wise for the transmissions that are out there.
When we keep those transmissions in stock all the time, it's like the Tonganoxie transmission. You know, we keep 3 or 4 of them in stock here all the time in case somebody breaks one. Has a warranty for 1 year. The man will, you know, there again, I think I have issued out one of them transmissions as a warranty never have any problems with them. Originally, when he built that transmission, he had a little problems with the bearings and stuff. Now he puts all that things in there brand new, has no problems with them anymore. So they've been very durable, and we're very proud to be associated with that man that produces these things. They're really good pieces.
Now we're talking about the
Tonganoxie.
The Tonganoxie, and now, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're talking about these are made in Tonganoxie, Kansas.
We're right over, just right across the Kansas line in Tonganoxie, Kansas.
So,
man owns a machine shop over there,
yeah.
And you know, if you have any problems with it, you can call him up.
Yeah.
And Dale Dickerson is his name, and you can call him up, and he'll help you any way he can. He's the nicest guy, and he's very durable. Very staunch about his price. You know, this is what it is, and there ain't no cheaper. You buy 20 of them, 100 of them, don't make any difference. That's his price.
Now he's actually got the equipment to produce large numbers.
Yeah, I think so. He sells these things all over the country.
Does it, right?
And there's a lot of secrets about this. You know, it was kept secret for a lot of years. People racing these things because of the horsepower advantage. But now everybody's pretty much finding out the durability factor of it, and are interested more for the durability of it as well as the horsepower advantage.
Okay, now that might be then when I asked you a while ago, I think I asked you about the controversy involved in this, because like I say, it's been a real active discussion on one of the websites here in town about the transmissions, and I think you were somewhat involved in that you, at the meeting that they just had at Valley Speedway, you were there and talked to Dennis, I believe, about having the Tonganoxie be legal at Valley.
Well, the reason for that too is there's people out there running them already, and they take them in and out of the cars and this and that, trying to sneak that horsepower advantage in there. And for the durability factor of it, and the fact is, you need a transmission on Saturday, you broke yours on Friday night, and you go out to the salvage yard today to find one of these Saginaw 3-speeds, you're going to pay $200 or $300 for it. And then, like in a Speedway book, for instance, they're like $600 for one in there. So, to me, it's more common just to let the transmission run and say it's legal for the dollar figure that it costs to run it. It's cheaper, it lasts longer, and does the job. And I just think it's stupid for the officials. It's nothing you can see. The only way you could catch it is to pull them out of the car and take the side off of it to look. So catching somebody is pretty hard.
And I think somebody mentioned on the website that they've never checked transmissions out there.
No.
Anyway, so like you say, it's kind of a lost cause, but want to make sure and let the officials of Valley, we're not saying that they're dumb, but
no.
It's just that more or less everybody's
It's hard to catch. You know, it's hard to see it.
Yeah.
That's why he put the shifter on here, as a matter of fact, that you can pull it back into low gear. And he's got high gear where second is, normally in a transmission. And then they pull it back into low gear, and they pull up there and say, make it move in 3 gears. Well, the rule is that all these racetracks, 2 gears forward and 1 reverse, and it has that. It has low gear and high gear and a reverse. So theoretically, it's legal. So,
but once again, back to the cost. If I got my figures correct, the stock Saginaw was $500, and this is $650.
Right.
So
that's straight out too. That's if you have a core to trade in, it's only $550. He gives you $100 back for your core.
Oh wow.
So theoretically, it's only $550. Pretty cheap, if you ask me.
Okay. Let me ask you this, and we were talking before we started this session here, and you were saying that the Chinese have been bringing parts into the racing business for several years already. And I'll be honest with you, of course, I'm not a racer. I'm not involved in it that much, but I didn't hear anything about that until this year. And of course, I think one of the things that kind of brought it home to me was this year at Valley Speedway, at the USAC race they had out there, Robert Ballou won that race with a Chinese chassis. And I heard him mention something about, during the interview we were doing, about, well, a lot of people are not real crazy about him, don't think he may be that reliable, but he was running a Chinese chassis, and he says, I'm really happy with him. This transmission here, how are they holding up on the racetrack?
Well, I've sold 30 of these transmissions last year. This transmission has had no problems whatsoever. I had one guy tear the clutch out of one of them, and come to find out he had the wrong grease in it. He put grease in it instead of transmission fluid. Other than that, I have had there's been one in Buddy Benedict's car for 2 years. He had the first one that was tested over here. And that guy tear up a crowbar in a sand pile. And it's still in there running today.
Once again, Buddy, no reflection on you personally.
He knows that. We're good friends.
But, I guess you've got to get it out there and test it.
Well, you do.
And let somebody try it. Somebody's got to be.
I was very leery when I heard they was building that. And they built 10 of them originally. And they actually copied one of the other transmissions. And since then, they've made some changes in it. Matter of fact, Fred over here works on all of my transmissions for me, rebuilding.
Fred
Reno, Goober, they call him.
Goober.
And Goober made a statement to me the other day that transmission is the most durablest, easiest to work on of all of them. It's so easy to take it apart and work on it in comparison to a Burt Brenner Falcon. And he puts this up to the top of the list as being one of the best pieces that there is out there today. And we just give one away at the MLRA banquet, as a matter of fact. And we offered them a prize for next year. The first one to win a heat race with a race gator is going to win $250. First one to win a feature with a race gator transmission is going to win an extra $500. And if you can win the championship next year with a race gator transmission and run it all year, I'm going to pay them $1,000 more to their purse.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, so we're gaining on these things because we're confident in these things that they're really good pieces. I have no problems whatsoever believing this thing I'll go out and run. As a matter of fact, Eric Turner is the guy that won the transmission from Springfield. And he's got new Yates motors for his Yates. Yes. And we're going to give her the real test.
Not me.
I'm confident that piece, and we're going back to the IMIS show here in 2 weeks. We went over there last year with it, had a lot of response over there, and we're going back this year ready to do business because we're confident that this piece is really good.
Yeah. What do you think is the race life of one of those, or does it depend upon the driver or the application? Or
and the where they race and what they do. I mean, you see these other transmissions been out here racing for years and years without any failures. And they cycle them down to the lower classes and things like that, all the other transmissions. So it's
good lifetime then.
Good lifetime.
Could be quite a while.
I think they have good season. I'm going to tell you something else about the Chinese products too. I hear a lot of people talk about that. We've had Chinese products in this business for years. It's just the fact nobody knew anything about it. Speedway Motors been selling Chinese stuff forever up there. Southwest Speed, all these places been getting all these parts from made in China that we just didn't know about. Now people are starting to find out where the stuff's really being made. And the whole factor is they're trying to make more money in buying the things in bigger quantities at a smaller cost to make their profit margins exist. The racing business is a tough business to start with because of the competitiveness of it and how people, that nobody wants to spend any more money than they have to go out and have a good time,
Yeah.
And so basically that's the whole deal. You can buy a frame. They make the frames for the modifieds now. They're not made in China, but they're made in India. The Chevelle frames are. The A-arms, everything is being made overseas now. And the only reason they're doing that is just to cut the cost, to keep this a competitive market for the racer can afford to do this. I haven't seen any problems as far as failures or anything like that. Any of these products, everything you touch, the gauges, the weight jacks, everything, pop rivets, you name it, it's being made in China today or overseas somewhere. I don't know specifically China, but they're doing that to get the cost cheaper. and it's just saving the racers money is all it's doing.
You know, here we've been worried about driving American cars on American streets.
And let me make another statement about that too. I bet you $5 every stitch of clothes you got on has been made overseas. You know, and mine too, and everybody else's too. So that don't bother me at all anymore, because everything, you go to Walmart and everything there is made in China. So, you know, it's everywhere we go, and that's part of our life today. Not that we'd all like to have them jobs right here. Sure we would, but the cost factors is keeping that from happening. So
Comes down to the dollar.
it comes down to the dollar.
Comes down to the dollar. If we have to rebuild this, how much is it going to cost to have this Chinese transmission?
Well, we
rebuilt?
keep all the parts in stock for them, as far as clutches or housings or anything anybody could tear up about them. So that was one of my big factors too, is being able to have the parts here to fix one if anybody broke it. And there's a cost factor as far as labor versus the parts it costs to fix it versus just buying another one. So, you know, it had to be, well, you know, the clutches are kind of expensive for them. They're, you know, like $30 a piece for the clutch disc, and there's 6 of them in there. So, you know, you start counting that up pretty soon. You're better off just to sell that off to somebody else and buy you a new one too at the cost rate.
Well, that was what I was wondering in the back of my mind, if you wouldn't
That's
be
how I
ahead.
say they all get cycled down that way. You know, the Birds, Brins, Falcons, everybody gets cycled down that way just because of cost factors it takes to rebuild them. So, you know, I think a guy will tear one down every year myself, and just look at the parts, look at the pieces. If it needs clutches, put them in it, and check the bearings and go back and be ready to go the next year.
Yeah.
You tell that to a racer, though, they don't do that. They just stick it back in the car and go again until it breaks. You know, they're all afraid.
I'm afraid so. I know what you mean exactly. One other question that I did have about the Chinese transmission. It's not actually about Chinese transmission. It's about pretty much all of them, because when you really get down to it, Huey, aren't basically most of them with this direct drive from the motor to the rear end?
Sure it is.
Just about all of them?
It's exactly the same thing.
Okay.
When you put that in high gear, nothing turns in it but the shaft through it.
And, well, I say most of them are that way.
Every one of them are that way.
Oh, okay. All right.
They're all that way.
Okay.
And that's the objective in it, is the power they make, the convenience of not having a clutch. All these things are factors in what makes this work, but it's when you put it in high gear, nothing turns in it but the shaft.
Yeah. Okay. I guess what my question is this type of transmission, is it any harder on the motor as far as camshaft, valves, anything like that? Because instead of having...
Well, I can tell you one thing. As like you buy a Tonganoxie transmission, you got to be careful about the gear ratio in the back, because we have found... Well, we tested that transmission at I-70 Speedway, for instance, on the big half mile. It actually picked it up 2/10 running that Tonganoxie transmission out there in a modified. But to do that, we had to change the gear ratio in the back because it was too low geared, because it freewheeled in the corner. Much easier. So we had to put a higher gear ratio, just one step higher. And same thing with a dirt car. You can run a one step higher gear ratio, still turn the same amount of RPMs you was turning before. But there's a little factor about that, because they get in the corner, they're freer. Everything about it's freer.
That was the only thing I was concerned about, was I had heard some talking about possibly it might be a little harder on the cam and the valves.
Well, not really. You just have to put the right gear in the back to gear the car to the RPM range that you're after for your motor to turn. Now, if you don't do that, then it's going to turn another 200 or 300 RPMs more than it was before because of it. So whether you change the gear ratio or not, it's up to you. And most people can stand 200 or 300 RPMs more. So that's basically what it does.
Okay. One final question. Is there anything getting ready to come on the market, or that you know of, that's really going to kind of hit racing with some new ideas or technology or anything? I mean, you've got to be on the forefront of knowing what's coming down the pipe that's going to hit it here pretty soon.
I don't think so, personally. I mean, racers have beat these bushes looking for every bit of horsepower they can and all the technical things that you can. Now, just like me, I go over here to the IMIS show and take my products over there and show them. But while I'm there, I'm looking.
You're looking. I figured so.
And I'm out looking for these things that's an advantage for somebody. Do you tell everybody? No, you don't come back and tell. I mean, you tell people that you can help, that's going to make a better racer out of somebody or whatever, but no secrets that I know of out here now. That's no. I mean, we had a lot of them back in the days, in the I-70 Speedway days and stuff like that. Technology was marching pretty heavy then. They beat that down pretty strong these days.
I'll put you on the spot here a little bit. Owning a speed shop and building motors and whatever, does a customer that frequents your shop get first shot at something?
Not really. I mean, I don't have favorites. I try to keep that. I have everybody that walks in my door ask me for a sponsorship. I can't sponsor anybody. You can't put your name on somebody. How many people put my stickers on their cars, and you know, you see our website on Racing Boys. As a matter of fact, dayraceparts.com. We have a website now that we solicit.
Say that again. Dayrace.com?
No, it's dayraceparts.com.
Okay, because see, I was looking for Day Automotive and I couldn't find anything. I got somewhere.
No, there's another
somewhere else
outfit out of Texas that's another day, but we sell on there, and you can just pick it up right off of Racing Boys. As a matter of fact, you can just punch the ad on there, and it goes right to my website. And we spent a lot of time at that, trying to create that knowledge for people too. You can go on the products on there and punch them products, and it'll bring up and tell you about the product and things. We've solicited a lot of information on there. Takes a lot of time to do that.
I bet
but
it
anyway, we're out here looking to improve this business. It's been a funny business in a lot of ways, you know, and the technologies is just eating us up with the computer business and all the things that's happening today. You know, it's just the knowledge out here is just phenomenal, and to get that knowledge to the customers and to the people, it's hard. You know, it's really hard to do that. So that's how we do our end of it, is trying to help the racers, and we go to the racetracks, you know, Lakeside and Valley Speedway, and you know, we're out there to make a buck like everybody else do, but the fact is, you know, people need help. That's how you get new racers, and you get the old racers that race on a budget. You know, you know, come in here, let me show you this little trick you can do here to make this do this. So, you know, you have to pass them on to people. We don't hold them back from anybody.
Yeah. Okay, well, Huey, all I can say is, man, this has been a lot of fun and really educational. I feel like
Well, I got hours and hours. We can talk forever if you want to know the truth. We get back here in this engine shop, and I'd really freak you out.
I think it was about this time last year I got okayed on YouTube. They went from 10 to 15 minutes, and I got okayed for, I wouldn't say limitless, but and it's really opened the door. It's made my job a lot easier, but it's given me the opportunity to actually get to sit down and talk with somebody and go over stuff like this and get some of that information. But like I say, Huey, I really appreciate you giving your time up here on a Saturday for doing this tech stuff with me, and I really do appreciate it. And boy, thanks a lot.
Not a problem. Anytime you got any questions about anything, come on back. We can talk forever. Talk's cheap.
Okay. Well, folks, that's going to wrap it up for this here Shop Talk Tech Talk with Huey Anthony.
Yeah.
Huey Anthony. I remembered it. See, now it takes me six times.
My name is Richard Anthony, but everybody knows me as Huey.
Right, okay. But that's going to wrap it up, folks. Have a good day.
A few good men getting by.